Hello, everybody. This is Frederick and Gene Watts, and this
Hello.
is Love in 60 Seconds.
Hey.
Welcome. Glad that you're tuning in this evening. We have a good topic tonight, hopefully, and
Mhm.
look forward to hearing and chatting with you. And we appreciate you guys tuning us in on a Tuesday. I know some of you guys are. This is a new night for us, just because we had something to do last night.
Yeah. Had to be on parental duties last night. We're actually on parental duties every night, but you had to take the baby somewhere. And we had just come back from the baby was out today, and we just got everybody settled in, so we're good.
Yeah, but
And
he's
he's the baby,
not a
but he's like
baby.
not a baby.
Yeah.
He's like 17, but he's still my baby. So there you go.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
anyways, but we do have a great topic. We just actually got off of I was watching a little bit of Prophet Trumbull. I don't know if any of you know him, but he was doing a tremendous job, just speaking and speaking the word on his live stream as well. So I know he may still be on, but we are grateful for you guys tonight. We're thankful for those of you all that are signing in. We do have some questions that we have. We have a couple of polls. The poll last week was pretty successful, so we do have a poll that is coming up today.
Yep, and as always, if you're not catching the live version, we appreciate you when you watch it. And when you can,
Hmm.
please continue to share this podcast or this chat with your friends and family, and
Hmm.
continue to like and continue to interact with us. Send us your messages, your words of encouragement, your prayers, your comments. We
Hmm.
try to reply to everybody, and you guys give us good examples for topics for each week. So we're going to get right into our topic tonight. We were talking about, I think the topic was stay on your channel,
Yeah.
sort of like staying in your lane, or not going back and forth, and being solid in your relationship.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Absolutely.
this is more geared to maybe single people as well as married, a little bit of both. We're going to cover
Yeah,
a
yeah,
few
you can be given
topics.
signals either way. You want to be able to make sure that you're giving the right signals to your spouse or to your significant other or to people that you don't even know. You want to make sure that you're giving the right signals. So, and cutting down on the wrong signals.
Right. So let's talk about that. What are signals that people give off in relationships, especially in dating? What
Mhm.
kind of signals, um, you know, um, what are important signals, or what are signals that you really shouldn't give off when you're dating?
Well, when you're dating, again, it depends on what it is that you want or what it is that you want to share with your person. Hey there, Lisa. What you want to share with the people, or what you want to attract. I should say that. That's a better way to say it. So it
Mhm.
depends on what you want to attract when you're giving out signals when you're dating or when you're thinking about um, making when you're thinking about making that connection. So I would say I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who is single, and I was telling her about her posts, her Instagram and her Facebook posts, and I was like, um, why do you feel the need to post certain things or certain ways?
Mhm.
And the way that she was posting was, you can tell certain angles, certain body shots, certain filters that are used. When a person is single, or when a woman particularly, is what I'm talking about in this particular instance. It can be a guy too, but when they're single, making sure that they are. You kick me.
Kick me.
Yeah, I didn't kick you on purpose. But anyways, so you're giving me
Right,
signals
right,
underneath the
signals.
table. But anyways, giving off that wrong kind of vibe. She would be taking pictures that were very seductive pictures as a single person, um, and putting that out there on her Instagram or Facebook page. And it's okay to post a nice picture. You think you look fly, you think you look cute. That is not, there's nothing wrong with that. But there's a different type of vibe when you're posting pictures that are more provocative, certain angles that you're posting, certain body parts that are in it, certain positions that you are to accentuate certain body parts when you're trying to look extra sexy. Um, that's fine if that's what you choose to do. You're an adult. That's your choice. That's your decision.
Mhm.
However, If that's the channel that you're broadcasting on, do not be upset or surprised when the response that you get back or the communication you get back is on that same level. Only that.
Mm-hmm. All right. And that's what we talked about, staying on your channel. So
Mm-hmm.
what you're broadcasting out, especially if you're single, shit is going to be what you're receiving. So if you're questioning, and I think we might even hit a question that so we saw on Facebook, but if you're questioning the type of people that you're drawing in, or
Mm-hmm.
that you're pulling, especially when you're dating and
Mm-hmm.
you're looking for that mate or that spouse, it doesn't mean something wrong with you, but you have to question, if you're bringing in a lot of negativity, what are you putting out there? Or if you're bringing in people that only have a certain mindset or a certain desire,
Mm-hmm.
what channels, what signals are you sending out? And
Absolutely.
sometimes when you're sending out those signals and you're getting back what you're putting out,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you need to change the channel.
Absolutely.
Yeah, breaker 19, get off that channel.
Yeah, absolutely. If I'm on frequency A, then I should be getting responses back from frequency A.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm on frequency B, then I'm getting responses back from frequency B. But if you're putting out there that you are thirsty, then you're gonna get people that are looking to quench your thirst on that same channel.
Yeah,
but if you're broadcasting, I'm a queen, I'm a king, I'm looking for the type of relationship or the type of communication that is going to be respectful, that's going to be genuine, that's going to be I think the question that we looked at earlier was, do guys know what they want, or do they just take what's convenient and close and convenient, as opposed to waiting for what they really want? And yes, they do wait for what they really want, but being close and convenient, sometimes it's not just close and convenient. It's just the answer to that call. It's the answer to the call of, I'm available if you want me. Mm-hmm. Not just like, you know what I'm saying, not having any real standards. Mm-hmm. Hey there, James. So not having really any real standards. So you got to have some standards when you're broadcasting whatever message it is that you're trying to send.
Right. And from our faith-based perspective, we believe that when you're searching for that person, or when you're searching, if you're single, for God to answer you, sometimes you have to wait. Mm-hmm. And it's real hard sometimes when God won't speak. Mm-hmm. Or sometimes God requires you to wait. And sometimes, even in the animal world, you start putting out signals, or you start putting out sounds, or that mating call, you're going to attract something.
Oh, yeah.
And it may not be the thing that you want to attract. So one reason God will give you or test you for patience is for you to really wait on Him, to wait on His blessing, to wait on the good thing that He has for you. Because regardless if you're a man or woman, there are people that are just not right for you. There are people that, I think one of our questions coming up are, should all your standards be met? Are your standards too high? When you're self-evaluating, God said He'll give you the desires of your heart. You want somebody tall, dark, and handsome. You want somebody with a job. You want all these things that you ask God for. You still have to also have the faith and the patience to wait for God to do that perfect work.
Absolutely, because sometimes the work is in you that He has to do, and not necessarily in the other person. So, hey there. But you got to learn to listen, and you got to learn to broadcast. And I like what you said about when you're in the jungle, whatever, and you do that mating call. There's people that can do bird calls, and they do a bird call, mating call, and they draw those birds in. And they draw a specific type of bird. So if your mating call is drawing in a specific type of person, then you need to change your mating call. Because if you keep reaching for a certain type of, or you keep getting a certain type of person, or you keep getting certain types of results in your relationship, then you really, really need to change what you're putting out.
That's really good.
In order to get what you want to get back. For example, even with people that are married, you know what I'm saying? People should know that you're married. They should know that you're married. People at your church should know you're married. People on your job should know that you're married. There should not be any gray area there. If you are a married person, they should not know for sure if you're married or in a committed relationship. Mm-hmm. Because that's ambiguity that is asking for trouble. And there was one, I was having a conversation before with some married girlfriends of mine. And they were saying how this one gentleman at within our group, he's married, but he's always, you know, really super friendly or too friendly with some of the ladies. And they were saying how, you know, this guy really tried to come on to them, you know, kind of inappropriately. And I was like, well, he's never tried to come on to me inappropriately because he knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
He knows exactly where I am. He knows that I have a husband, whether he's met my husband or not, I can't even remember. But whether I have a that I have a husband, that I'm happily married, I know he knows it because he makes comments and things like that. But he never steps to me inappropriately because he knows what signal I'm on signal A. You're gonna stay on A, sir.
Right.
That's where you're gonna be at, right there on A, not on B. So.
Right. So if we're on Facebook, we put out a question that said, have you ever settled in a relationship? And the reason we're asking that question has to do with another question coming up, meaning, you know, is it okay to settle, or do you think that settling is, you know, do you feel like you've fallen short? And then in the past relationships, has that made you happy? And I personally believe if you're settling for something in a relationship that you desire, then that if you're not married, you know, as you're moving to that, if somebody doesn't have the qualities that you want, that's what the vetting period is for.
That's right.
If this person constantly picks their nose and passes gas, and you think, and that is something that you don't like, no matter how much money they make, how good they look, that'll be an issue for you if that is something that you would have to settle on. Absolutely. And we're curious, you know, and we appreciate you guys hitting those like buttons and the heart buttons, but we're curious to take this poll and see what you guys have to say, because there's a difference between settling and then looking past little stuff. You know, settling means that you have said, this is something I desire, but I can't have it, so I'm going to take B.
Right.
And we know a lot of people that have done that. A lot of us have done that even in the past.
Yeah.
To say, you know what, I'm tired of waiting for the perfect, not even a perfect thing, but what I want. I'm tired of waiting for my standards to be fulfilled, so I'm going to go ahead and settle. And we want to hear back from you. If you've settled, you know, how'd you feel? How did it make you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that let me think back, you know, before I got married and I was in the dating process, did I settle? No, I think what I did is, I think for myself, I did a lot of research, a lot of vetting, a lot of, you know, qualifying people. And when they didn't meet the qualifications, it was just, okay, I'm going to move on. You know, even if it was painful for me, you know, I'm just like, yeah, I can't. But I do know people that have. And then sometimes I know people that have thought that they were settling. And actually what they got was an amazing blessing. They just didn't realize what was in the package. And so God was blessing them, and they did not realize that they were being blessed with exactly and overabundant of what they were getting. It didn't come, you know, like they thought it should come right then. You know, sometimes, like I can think of the past, you know, when I thought about myself getting married, I was like, oh, okay, you know, the guy is going to have a nice car. He's going to have a nice house. And I was in my 20s, you know, I'm still thinking that he's going to be really just on it. And of course, when I met my husband and he got my heart, he did not have a nice car and he did not have a nice house, but he had my heart. He had my heart. And I knew he had the heart of God, and I knew that he was God's choice for me, which is even better. When your father chooses for you, that's the best gift. And of course, now he is all of those things. He's got a nice car, he's got a nice house, you know, and he lets me live there and drive there. Drive him too.
Right. And that sort of goes into our second topic and the question of tonight. We're talking about staying in lanes and what you had mentioned earlier. And basically that question was, we saw, and pertaining to, it could be men or women, but the question was posed to men, you know, do men know what they want, or do they keep searching? And do they settle for what's close and what's convenient? And I wanted to pose a question. I actually even replied to that person, is that both people, you know, men and women, you know, when we talk about sending out signals, if a woman is sending out a signal that she is willing to accept a man that will take something close and convenient, then you're going to get a man that will willing to accept what you're giving him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, regardless of, now women are great, not, I won't say manipulate, but they know how to draw in a man.
Mm-hmm.
They know how to make him feel good. They know how to do all those things that men like.
Stroke the ego.
Stroke the ego. But men are also very particular and well skilled in letting you think you have the upper hand.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is that, you know, if a man knows what he desires, and a man knows what he wants,
Mm-hmm.
but a man will also a lot of times take what he can get. Meaning that if you're going to give it, he will take it and be happy with it. Now, most of the time, he will never tell you that he loves you. He will never tell you that he is interested in you. You mostly will say those things to him, or will tell him, and it may even heard him say it to you in your mind,
Mm-hmm.
because depending on the character of a man.
Mm-hmm.
But he will sometimes take those things because you are a convenience.
Yeah.
You are a pit stop. So you have to make sure that you're not allowing yourself to be a pit stop, to be that signal that you're sending out so that you don't draw that type of man.
Absolutely. And I was looking at what one of our viewers said, that, you know, you can really help a man to achieve a goal of financial status and all of those things. Absolutely. You know, a woman, that team dynamic, you know, my husband helps to push me. And I definitely help to push him, and I hold down the fort, and I've held down the fort even with our children while he was able to grow in his career. You know, because his career takes him away from home quite a bit. But I had to be the person that was here, the staple, taking care of the kids, so that he could grow in his career, so that he could be a blessing and give us the life that he does. So, you know, definitely that team dynamic, and definitely knowing what you got. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And this is more of a conversation for our single people.
This portion, yes.
Yeah, tonight, meaning that, you know, when you're sending out your signals, you have to make sure that wires aren't crossed, and that and what you're sending out, because it happens, you know, even when you pray, you know, how you pray and how you worship, and what draws God to you is, you know, what is it? Your praise is what, you know, gets God's attention. You know, right? It's he hears your cry, he hears your prayers. But when you start to pray, and when you start giving him praise, you know, that draws him closer. And that's the same thing as anything in the animal kingdom, and in the spiritual world. What you put out, you know, is going to be what you draw back.
Absolutely.
So you have to make sure that you're not putting out those signals that are going to be getting a type of man that you don't want.
Absolutely.
You know, if you into just
woman you don't want.
Yeah, type of woman. If you are into money and financial gain and all that, you might get that type of man that is the same way. And then when you decide to be like, you know what happened to the love, or what happened to the attention, you know, well, that's what you put out. That's what you got back. So when you're single, and when you're dating, and when you're vetting, make sure that you're sending. It's so important to make sure that you're sending out the right signals. And like we said before, the only way you can send out those signals is to make sure that you are whole. In the beginning, and to make sure that you are rooted and grounded, so that you can make sure that you can vet somebody that's going to be that partner that equal to you.
Absolutely. And so when you're married, though, when you're married in a married relationship, we want to first talk about sending signals outside of your marriage. If you are married and you're sending signals to other singles or other married people that there's an availability, or there's a possibility for a relationship, you need to cut it out, number one. But you need to, you know, really watch yourself when you're doing that, because that really is a distraction, and it's something that can really tear down your relationship when you're sending the wrong signals. If you're not wearing your wedding ring, if you're not you know, making it known that you have a spouse, that you're in a relationship, that is really you know, that's dangerous territory. That's dangerous. So you're opening up your relationship, you're opening up your marriage to a lot of things.
Right, and that's all in setting boundaries. It's all in setting fences or walls. So, you know, when you're sending, as a married person, the only signal that you should be sending out is the signal that your spouse should be receiving. Is how wonderful they are, how great they are, how, you know, that you're in, like you said, your team Jones, your team Watts, your team Smith, that you're in united front. It's going to always have troubles. There's always going to be There's always going to be issues in life, but the issue is that we said in the beginning that this is a lifelong journey,
Yeah.
and it is a race that is not a sprint but a marathon. So every signal in your marriage should be that you and I are inseparable. You and I are not. There's no other one before you. There's no other one. You have my eye. I have your eye, and that is the signal that you should be sending out. So it's a little bit different when you're married.
Absolutely, absolutely. When you're married, you need to definitely send those signals of that are clear signals that your spouse is your number one. Your spouse is your only one as far as a relationship romantically is concerned. That's your choice. That's your pick. You still my pick. You were my pick 10 years ago. You were my pick 20 years ago. You were my pick 5 years ago. You're my pick a year ago. You're my pick yesterday, and you're my pick today. You know, you are my choice. The person that I choose to love, choose to be with, choose to grow with every day. That is really, really, really important that you send those signals, because a lot of times it's not, actions speak louder than words. So a lot of times the way you act and the signals that you give are different than what you're saying. So you could be saying, you know, oh honey, you know, I love you, you're the only one for me, but you're not acting like that. You know, your eyes are roaming all over the place, or your attention is always somewhere else. You got to really examine what signals you're sending.
Right. Right. And a lot of times those signals happen to do with what you're also bringing in. You know, if you are in a relationship if you're married, with being married, and then you're as a man, you're watching, you know, all kinds of crazy stuff, or you're into stuff like, you know, porn is a destroyer of physical intimacy in marriage. If you're watching those things, you're sending out a signal, and that signal is coming back to you, and it is not getting directed towards your spouse. So now you're on a whole different channel than your spouse. So now your thoughts of intimacy, your thoughts of, you know, or not just porn, but from money to relationships to desires, you're on your own separate channel. And we talked about when you get to be isolated, that's when the enemy can come in and bring distraction, can try to destroy you. So in a marriage, you both must be transmitting and receiving on the same channel.
Yep.
You know, and in my field of work, if you happen to transmit on a radio frequency, and you happen to transmit on a radio frequency, I won't get to hear what you're saying, because we're both transmitting at the same time, and it gets blocked. And that's the same way that in your relationship, if God is not transmitting down and you're always over transmitting him, never establishing that connection, then the signal's going to be blocked, or it's going to be crossed. You know, you're going to have one signal going this way, one signal going that way, and there won't ever be any unity. So if there's dysfunction or parts of your marriages that are trouble, you guys have to say, let's stop, let's sit back, let's get back on the same channel.
Absolutely, absolutely, 100%. You definitely have to make sure that you are, again, on that same wavelength, because, you know, the enemy is the prince of the power of the air. So sometimes what you even say can get misunderstood or miscontorted. But if your heart is sending the right signal, if your spirit is sending the right signal, what what you mean will come across, and it will not be misinterpreted or misunderstood. Again, you want to make sure that you are sending the types of signals that are making people or making your spouse comfortable and know that they are you know, that you're just in the same vein. You're just in the same vein.
Right. And and this leads into our next question and our last question on Facebook, and definitely continue to answer these, and we like to see what you guys are thinking. But when you were talking about earlier, you said about how you're supposed to treat your spouse and what you're supposed to sow into your spouse. That leads us to, do you think it's important to celebrate your spouse, not just and even to go overboard on special days, but to take every time and every moment that you can to celebrate your spouse?
Absolutely, because that, you know, again, that's sending a signal. That's sending a signal. If you make a big deal out of your spouse's, you should be making a big deal out of your spouse's birthday. You should be making a big deal out of your anniversary. You should be making a big deal out of every obstacle or every achievement that you have in your relationship. That again is sending a signal that I'm supporting you. I love you. I'm with you. It's right. James says your actions will tell you everything. Actions will tell you everything. When words say one thing, actions will tell you the truth.
Yeah.
How you really feel. So tell me how you really feel. Just look at the person's actions. So again, if you're celebrating that person on those special occasions and making a big deal out of it, and I'm not saying spending a lot of money, I'm just saying making a big deal out of it. Right. You know what I'm saying? Making sure that you make their special, what they like to eat, or take them somewhere, or make them something, or write them a special note, or give them words, whatever their love language is, that you speak it to them on that day. You know, that helps to send the right signals. That sends signals of security, signals of that you still value me, signals that you still love me, that you care about me, that you place me first, that you honor me. That's what those signals say when you do those things.
Right. I like that. It's the sending and the receiving of a signal is very important, because I've seen some people that I know that have send the signals to everybody else but their spouse. And you know, how can you get your spouse to feel trustworthy, for them to feel trusted, for them to feel protected, if you are sending your signals out to everybody? If you compliment every other man on how nice they look, how chiseled their chest is, or how beautiful their smile, but you never tell me, you know, then I'm going to have an issue with you, you know, because, and now you're sending out a signal that causes me to think, is there something wrong with me? You know, and it could just be, you're just giving compliments. You're just being nice. But if you're not doing that at home first, then there's no reason that you should need to be doing it outside in the streets, because everything that in your marriage and your relationship needs to start in the home. And the same as a man, he can't just celebrate you, or I shouldn't just celebrate you outside the home if I never celebrate you in the home, because that's where the real nitty gritty is. And you'll take that and throw it away if I never do it, you know, behind closed doors.
Absolutely. Charity begins at home and then spreads abroad. That's what my mama always used to say. Charity begins at home and then spreads abroad. So you have to begin to do those things. You have to show love. You have to, you know, that's right, listen. You have to promote. You have to bless. You have to speak blessing. You have to love a person in that way, and then love them behind closed doors and out in public. You can't just do it behind closed doors and never do it in public. You got to do it both ways, because sometimes you do a whole bunch of stuff in private, but you don't own me in public.
Right.
What signal are you sending?
Right.
I'm not important to you in public. I'm only important to you in private. That's not a good signal. That's, you got, you know, whatever signal you're giving out, that's what you're going to get back. So, you know, definitely you want to make sure that you're being cognizant of that.
And we've been married for 21 years, and I'm learning every day how to grow, how to be better. And so, you know, always taking a consideration that if you're a newlywed, you've been married for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, to get over signal crossings, to making sure that you're on the right page, is communication. You have to be able to say, hey, honey, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm desiring. This is what I see. This is what I like. And then you have to be able to say, well, this is how. You have to be able to communicate. If you can't have communication in your marriage, then it's going to be hard to successful, because you're always going to have something that's bothering you, that's dragging you, that's belating you, and that brings in all kinds of other issues. So a good way to make sure that your channel is open for communication is to keep it open. You know, be able to be like, hey, I'm not going to be on a transmit button all the time, because I'll never get no inbound signal. You know, you have to be able to step back, take your mic, hand off the transmit button, and listen. Listen to your spouse, listen to what they're saying, listen to their heart, listen to their mind, and that'll lead you to be successful in relationships.
Absolutely. So again, you know, recapping all of these things that we've been saying, you know, you got to watch the signals that you give, watch the wavelength that you're talking on, or the wave that you're talking on. Like I gave the example of, actually I gave it to my husband when we were talking about this topic of, you know, of a truck driver, you know, being on a CB and, you know, whatever, or even like a police officer, if you're on talking on a walkie-talkie, or talking on a whatever you call it thing, the CB, if I'm on channel A, then everybody on channel A is going to hear me. On channel B, then everybody that's on channel B is going to hear me. So if I'm a single person and I'm putting out selfies that, you know, accentuates all my girl parts, and, you know, got special filters on, and I got the high angle, and I'm doing all of that, and I'm looking thirsty, guess what's going to answer me? those that are looking to quench my thirst. If I'm there though, I can post a really pretty picture. Have a nice angle. I can look nice, but not being so trying to be out there like that. Then it's gonna give me back more of the type of person that I may be looking for, of a quality person. And if that's what you're looking for, then go right on ahead and help yourself. You're a grown person. But if that's not what you're looking for, broadcast on the frequency that you want to be on. If you want somebody that's valuable, then broadcast on that, or that's going to value you. Broadcast on that frequency,
right.
And put your message out on that.
Yep, and definitely also know that when you are in the vetting process and dating, I would suggest you don't believe God and trust God for what you desire. Don't just fall off. Don't just settle for what's convenient. Settle for what you desire, and make sure that you're not allowing a man or a woman for that other person just to be with you because you're close. Don't make yourself so accessible that everybody can have a piece of you.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make yourself, hidden, especially if you're a woman, that you're pursued.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just being honest on how men pursue. If he can get you, and if he can get you so easily with no work, with no investment, why would he want to keep you? He didn't work for you. He didn't chase you. He didn't do anything. So if you're making it so easy, there's no effort.
Why buy the cow when you get the milk for free?
Right. So make sure that you're not making yourself convenient.
Mm-hmm.
Make yourself to be pursued. And then as a man, if you're every treasure that's worth finding, you have to go look for it.
Mm-hmm.
You should be pursuing someone, that special woman in your life. You should invest in sowing into her and building her so that she knows that you're going to cover her, that she's going to be able to put your complete trust in you. Mm-hmm. And even as you're married, you have to continue to always sow into your spouse, to let her know that you're there 100%, physically, emotionally, both those things. It's very important.
I agree.
Yeah. So, hey, we're not long tonight. This is a different night. Hopefully we'll be back. We'll be back. No, we won't be back Monday. We will probably do. We'll be back either Monday or Tuesday. December is a crazy month for us. But we do appreciate you guys following us on Facebook and Instagram. Appreciate you guys liking us. Continue to chat with us. We appreciate what we see from you guys on Facebook. James, Willie, today saying things, and even I believe we had Lisa, who's newly married, checking in. And James said, before and in marriage, we have to get your PhD on her. Yes, right.
No, that's right.
Get everything. On that's right.
No, all you can.
Yeah, because it's a lifetime commitment. Absolutely. And you want to be happy. So we'll see you next week. Tell everybody, please share this and like this on your page. Yeah. Share it with your friends. Let them know that we're here, and we'll see you next week. It's Frederick and Jean Watts. Love in 60 seconds.
All right. Bye-bye. It's not ending.